Hey guys, our phone's been ringing off the hooks. Our health center is closed right now, and people want to know what they can do. They're at home, they're locked up, and they're in pain, they're stiff, they're frustrated. So let's go through. This is the advice I always give to all my patients. Let's start with the beginning. Let's start with your basics. And that's how you sit, how you stand, and how you sleep. And that occupies most of your day. And the thing is this, if you get your sitting, sleeping, and standing right, you're good. So let's go right through these basics. So here's how you get great sleep. Now I'm going to start with this, basically 3 types of sleep. You can sleep on your back, on your side, or on your stomach. So right off the bat, let's just take the stomach thing out of the way. There's so many different philosophies and opinions on sleep, but everybody agrees on one thing, and sleeping on your stomach is a no-no, because when you sleep on your stomach, you got to turn your head, you're going to end up with neck and shoulder problems, and it affects the rest of your spine as well. So let's start with the 2 that we can talk about, and that's sleeping on your back or sleeping on your side. So let's start with sleeping on your back. If you're going to sleep on your back, like I said earlier, you want to make sure that the bed is just right. Okay, you don't want it too hard, too soft, okay? Now, when you sleep on your back, you want a pillow that's not pushing your head too far up or too far back. You want something that just fits perfectly. And so the key thing here is when you're sleeping, you want to make sure your ears, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your ankles, they all line up so you're in that natural sleeping position. Now, the one big tip I recommend if you're going to sleep on your back is get a pillow underneath your knees right here like that. So you want to sleep like that. And what does that do? That sets the hips in the right position, and it relaxes your spine. Again, you don't want to go into extension. Those people who were working at desks and crunched over desk and bending over, and they have what they call kyphosis. If you don't have a pillow underneath your knees, you're gonna feel it in your mid back. You're gonna wake up sore and stiff. Okay, so get that pillow underneath your knees and relax like that. Now I'm going to move on to sleeping on your side. Okay, this is real simple. Now on this, I recommend using 3 pillows. Now this is a pillow I actually designed myself. And what I did here was I cut this out for the shoulder, the ear, the jaw, so there's relief there. Opens up for breathing. But the main thing about this pillow, and the reason why I designed it is because I've been over 30 years working with people with neck and shoulder and ear problems, jaw problems, and I try to design a pillow that solve all these or met all these needs. And so when you sleep on your side, you want to make sure that pillow fits in right. And you can see how this one does it. Just molds around the shoulder and creates a cradle, okay? Now, again, I recommend putting a pillow between your knees here. And the reason for that is this. We want to keep the hips in perfect alignment, like that. You see that? Okay, so we have the pillow right for the neck. The third pillow would be right here. If you can do this, get another pillow here to hug this like that. And you sleep like that, and your body's in an absolute perfect alignment. As you can see, everything's perfectly aligned. My shoulders are aligned, my hips are aligned, my knees are aligned. And, I'm going to have a great sleep like this. I'm not going to be tossing and turning. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to feel great and ready to go. Okay, now that you got the basics on how to sleep, let's go through how you should stand, okay? So come over here and let's go through this. This is real simple. And the point of this is that you want to develop an active conscious engagement. So when you're sitting, when you're standing, when you're sleeping, you're engaging your core muscles, you're sleeping, standing, sitting in alignment, and you're developing good habits, you're developing muscle memory. So when you're standing, let's just start with the spine, for example. So if we're looking at this stack of bones here, 24 bones cut into movable pieces, you have a neck curve, a mid-back curve, a low back curve, and pelvic curve. And if we drew an imaginary line between your ears, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your ankles, it all should be in the same straight line, but it's like a coil or spring, okay? Now here's the thing, a real simple tip. Let's not overcomplicate this thing. It's simple, but it's not easy. And this is something I really want you to focus on, especially if you have back problems. Try to keep your feet shoulder width apart, first of all, okay? A lot of people keep their feet together, they lean on one side, they lean on the other, they do this kind of stuff. Try to balance your weight evenly. Think about your feet. You want to balance your weight on your feet. 3 points, your heel and 2 points up in here, and try to keep the balance there, okay? Now, feet shoulder width apart, legs are straight, toes are pointing straight ahead. The second point is this. What we want to do is we want to keep those knees slightly bent. Why? Because when you unlock those knees, you unlock your spine. You engage the core muscles. For example, if we look at the spine here again, if the knees are locked like this, what happens here is when the knees lock, it locks the pelvis, it throws what they call the thoracic spine forward, throws the head forward, and you start walking like this, and you start, instead of moving from your hips, you're moving from your mid-back, and that leads to breakdown. The thing is this, when you're standing, you want to use all of your muscles. You want to engage all the muscles above and below the hips. Anything attached to the hips, you want to engage those things, and you want to use that to disperse the weight evenly. So the only thing you need to focus on is keeping those knees slightly bent, your feet shoulder width apart, and your feet point straight ahead. Practice that all day long. And you keep at this through repetition, through repetition, through repetition. You develop a mastery. You become a black belt this, and then you don't have to practice anymore. It becomes, then you move on to training, you're playing tennis, working now, whatever you're doing, it becomes second nature, and it becomes part of your being. Okay, so you got the basics on how to sleep, how to stand right. Let's move on to sitting, okay? And that we'll finish it off with that. So let's just grab any old chair. This is actually not a great chair. It's a terrible chair, but we'll use it, okay? Now the thing is this, the same rule applies with standing. When you're sitting, as you can see here, my knees are level with my hips, and what happens is this, I start bending forward here, like that. Can you see that? And so what happens is this, I'm going to use the spine again. Ideally, you want your neck curve, mid-back curve, low back curve, and pelvic curve, and the spine everything should line up and should be like a coil or spring. The way I'm sitting right now, this part of my spine in the y-axis starts straightening out like that. Okay, and so instead of loading the joints and the muscles, you're loading the discs, and that creates all kinds of problems for the body. But secondary, what happens is when your low back is in a y-axis like this, it throws your head forward, and you start bending from up in here, right in the mid back here, and the head goes forward, and it creates neck and shoulder problems, low back problems. So here's a real simple tip: when you're sitting, like standing, you want to make sure your knees are slightly bent, but you want your hips above your knees, always. Everything. So everything you do. So you can use something like this. We designed this. It's called a foundation. You put that on there, and see, it just automatically corrects the posture. Can you see that? My ears over my shoulders, my hips. And the cool thing about this is I'm actually exercising right now. I'm actually engaging those core muscles, the transverse abdominis, the pelvic floor muscles, the serratus anterior muscles. They're all engaged. So I'm actually working out while I'm working. How cool is that? So if you don't have this thing, don't worry about it. The same rule applies. What you want to do is this. As long as you get the same concept, what you want to make sure is your knees are below your hips. Okay? So just get those knees down. Just get those knees down. And the more you do this, the more, again, you start developing muscle memory, you start developing good habits, and you're gonna own these things. And you should never have a back problem. Once you own this stuff, you're good. Really good. Okay? That's it for today. Thank you.